When people talk about Neanderthals, they usually picture hunting and survival. But there's one topic rarely spoken about openly. Who did they mate with? Did they have mating bonds only within their own species? Or did they cross boundaries between species? It turns out that we still carry traces of them in our blood today, which means there was more between us and them than just being neighbors. Neanderthals were not the only humans on Earth. At the same time, there were several other species. The main ones were Homo sapiens, our direct ancestors, and the Denisovans, a mysterious group discovered in Siberia. There were also Homo floresiensis and Homo luzonensis, small-bodied human species on the islands of Indonesia and the Philippines. But most often, Neanderthals came into contact specifically with Homo sapiens and Denisovans. Neanderthals appeared in Europe and the Near East about 400,000 years ago. Homo sapiens originated in Africa, but began migrating about 60,000 years ago. They met around 50 to 60,000 years ago in the region now called the Levant, modern-day Syria, Israel, and Turkey. That's where the first encounters began. Some archaeological sites show that Neanderthals and Homo sapiens lived side by side, sometimes even in the same caves, though with breaks in between. One group would disappear, another would arrive. Sometimes tens of thousands of years separated these groups, but the places remain the same. This means they knew about each other, could observe, compare, and exchange. And this means they had the chance not only to fight or avoid each other. They also had the chance to make contact, including the closest kind of contact. Could different species have children together? Yes, they could. Neanderthals and Homo sapiens were different species, but biologically, they were compatible. This means that a modern human and a Neanderthal could conceive offspring, and these children were viable. We know this not just by speculation, but through DNA analysis. In the 21st century, scientists decoded the Neanderthal genome and compared it to ours. The result was unexpected. Nearly all people outside of Africa have segments of Neanderthal DNA, about 1 to 2%. This is direct proof of interbreeding, and this didn't happen just once. Traces of Neanderthal genes are found in Europeans, Asians, and people from the Middle East. Africans, whose ancestors never left Africa, have almost none of these genes. This means the mixing happened after Homo sapiens left Africa and met Neanderthals. There are also reverse cases. Denisovans, another ancient human species, also carry fragments of Neanderthal DNA. This means Neanderthals interbred with them too. There were even hybrids. In Denisova Cave, a bone fragment of a girl was found whose mother was a Neanderthal and father a Denisovan. This is possible only between species that are very close biologically. And it wasn't just theoretical. They lived together, formed relationships, and had children. Sometimes these children survived and passed their genes on, all the way to us. Interbreeding between species could happen in different ways. Sometimes by chance, sometimes deliberately. It might have been just physical contact between lonely individuals living in neighboring camps. It might have been violence during conflicts or the capture of women. But there's also another scenario. A union between species could have been beneficial. If Neanderthals encountered a group of Homo sapiens and saw that they could make better weapons or find food more effectively, they had an incentive not to fight, but to mix. For small groups, any new blood was a chance to survive. A Neanderthal tribe might have only 10 or 20 people. Any connections with neighbors increased diversity and protected them from extinction. The same goes for Homo sapiens. Imagine, you are a newcomer in an unfamiliar, icy world, and there in front of you are the locals, strong, resilient, familiar with the land. Why not take their knowledge and their genes? The conditions were so harsh that it wasn't the strongest who survived, but the most adaptable, those who were ready to connect, to merge, to change the rules. Love? Maybe. Humans are more than just instincts, even ancient ones. We don't know how they looked at each other, what they felt, but children came from these unions, which means there were reasons, there were desires, and there were choices. Today, almost every person outside of Africa carries Neanderthal genes. This makes up about 1 to 2% of our entire DNA. Some people have a bit more, some a bit less. The highest amounts are found in people from East Asia. Europeans and people from the Middle East have slightly less. What are these genes? Some are responsible for immunity. They help us fight infections. Others are linked to skin and hair. Adaptations for cold climates. There are segments that affect blood clotting, pain sensitivity, even the tendency toward depression and insomnia. Some genes increase the risk of type 2 diabetes or severe COVID-19. Others, on the contrary, offer protection. This doesn't mean we are half Neanderthal, but their contribution to our bodies is real. It's not just a memory, it's working mechanisms inside our cells. They have been passed down from generation to generation for tens of thousands of years. Sometimes these genes are switched off. Sometimes they are active. But the fact remains, we are not pure Homo sapiens. We are the result of mixing, a hybrid line carrying traces of those who lived before us. Somewhere inside, you may be a gene that helped a Neanderthal stay warm in an icy cave, or fight off a disease that killed others. This is not just history. It is part of you. Not so long ago, Neanderthals were considered an evolutionary dead end. Crude savages who died out because they couldn't compete. But genetics changed everything. It turned out that they didn't just survive alongside Homo sapiens. They became part of us, and that changes everything. We can no longer say there was just us and them. It was much more complicated. Different human species lived side by side, hunted together, learned from each other, formed relationships, and had children. Neanderthals did not simply vanish. They dissolved into you, into me, into everyone living outside Africa. This means human history is not a straight line, but a web. It's made of encounters, mergers, and mutual influences. We are not a pure breed. We are the result of mixing, and in that lies our strength. Each of us carries ancient knowledge, gathered by different species. And if today you can live in the cold, fight off infections, or sense the smell of snow, perhaps you owe that not only to Homo sapiens, but to a Neanderthal who once reached out a hand to a stranger, or to a strange woman. We are not descendants of conquerors. We are descendants of those who knew how to adapt. And that is what made us human.